Good evening, everyone. All right,
Good
we'll
evening.
get this. Good evening. Let's get it started. Let me share my screen and then we'll get going. Second, please. Hey guys, can you please confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, we can see this.
Yes, we can
Right.
see.
Perfect. Thank you. So, hello everyone. My name is Mahesh, and I'm going to be basically your trainer for this program, the CLSA 23, Part 1 and Part 2. Before we get into the details or before we get started with the content itself, let's just spend a few minutes to try to understand what is basically we are going to achieve throughout this program, which we are starting today, and what to expect from it. What is the expectation from my end, from you guys, right? That will actually set the stage right for all of us and bring us all on the same page. So this is Pega 23, Pega CLSA 23 course, where we are going to target part 1 plus part 2. However, since part 1 is completely theoretical, so there is going to be a little less effort on the part 1 than the part 2. So we're going to spend around 75 to 80% time on part 2. And somewhere close to 15 to 20% time on part 1. The part 1 curriculum is going to be placed in our program so that we actually get the basics in order to start the part 2, but not do the entire part 1 in one go to kill some time. So we will be playing a little smart about that, and which I will explain further. Okay. So this is basically what you can expect from this is the complete CLSA structure, the part 1 and part 2. When we kickstart this program, maybe tomorrow, day after, when we meet for the third session, I'm going to talk about how we are going to approach the part 1 certification for anyone who has not completed it. So we will discuss about that. But most importantly, we will be focusing on part 2. The part 2 has 2 phases as well, which I will explain shortly. Okay. This program is also meant for the people who at least have 3 to 4 years of pure Pega development experience. More than that is better, obviously, but minimum 3 years of critical Pega development. So when I say pure Pega development experience, it doesn't include anything that you're doing from the production support. I mean, just here and there doing some Pega code stuff. No, this is an advanced program, advanced training, supposed to be for the people who already know Pega, and they are trying to position themselves as an architect in the Pega practice, or basically trying to acquire much more knowledge beyond what we do daily to daily basis on the user stories. So it is beyond, it is for beyond that. Okay. This is going to be a weekend training, Indian Standard Time, Saturday and Sunday, 6 p.m. is the start time, maybe 5 minutes here and there, but 6 p.m. is when we are starting. And this is going to be a 3 hours program. In between, we will be taking one break for 15 minutes for all of us to get some refreshment, basically. So we'll start at 6. We'll take a break in between for 15 minutes, and then we will continue for another, until we complete the 3 hours. Okay. So total, there are going to be 16, roughly 16 hours. It's not hard and fast. Sometime if demand or if we need, we can extend it for a few hours. And sometime if we complete a little early, there are 2-3 sessions towards the end, which actually depend upon the participation from you guys. So accordingly, the timing might adjust a bit here and there, but roughly standard time is 60 hours. Nevertheless, if we feel like that we need a few more sessions for something that is left, which is promised in the session but not delivered it, and we need additional time, we can extend it. And if we feel like that we have completed it a little early, it can end a little early as well. But if we go by that standard duration, it's a 60 hours, 3 hours per day. So it's 10 weekend total, 20 sessions, 10 weekends, right? That's what we are looking at. So 2.5 months. Sometimes situations might demand us to postpone 1 or 2 sessions. So we'll just let it be basically a 3 months training program. I mean, roughly. Okay. If we don't have any cancellation, it will end in 2.5 months. But obviously, definitely somewhere around 3 months, we will be closing this program. Expectation from my side is that when we are starting this, obviously you have invested your money, but money is secondary. You're going to spend your 3 hours from the weekend and 6 hours per weekend. That's the biggest investment from the time perspective. So don't let it go in vain. Please, there are going to be work that we will be saying that, okay, let's do it offline. Please do that. If you are investing 6 hours, better to invest 1 or 2 more hours in the weeks, okay? Just to make sure that we get maximum from this exercise, okay? I hope you guys will basically, spend that much time and invest that and make sure that you all actually get the most out of it. Also, there are going to be planning done for part 1 and part 2 both. So let's stick to those timelines to make sure that before once we end this program. So typically the target is that once we end this within 2 months, we attempt for the CLSA part 2 and get it done. Part 1, anyone who has not completed the part 1, the target would be that while we are still doing this program, the part 1 should be completed. So we'll talk more about that detail. Okay. Any questions so far? Anyone? Any question? Okay. Now let's talk about the structure. Some of you might already be aware of this. Some of you might not be. Okay. So let's discuss a little bit about the structure of the exam before we kickstart the program. Okay. So CLSA certification involves 2 stages. Okay. Unofficially, we call it as part 1, but there obviously that is not a part 1. There's no part 1 or part 2 as such. This is called architecture exam. And this is exactly what we call as part 1, unofficially. Okay. And then there is a application, design and build. This is what we call as part 2, unofficially. All right. Part 1 is, structure or the way it is conducted. It's similar to your CSA, CSSA. It's a Pearson Venue hosted program. The questions are quite different though, right? Difficulty level is different. I mean, you might have scored in 90s in CSA or CSSA or any other certification that you have acquired, but 90s are very rare in architecture exam. Typically, people score somewhere between 65 to 75. That's where 95% of the people score. Okay, and which is good because if once you complete the part 1, you do not get recognized as a CLSA. By the way, it is not even visible on your profile until you complete the part 2. Okay, this is just a primary step for part 2. Okay, so our goal obviously is going to score at least 65. Anything addition to that, that is good. But we will not be much consumed by the fact that we want to score 95 or 90 or something like that. No, no, no. We need to be focused. The real exam is actually the part 2, the application design and build, and that's where we will be focusing most. We will also at the same time make sure that we get that 65% plus mark there. Okay. So part 1 is, like I said, CSA, CSSA pattern wise, right? Difficulty level is quite different. I'll discuss in more detail when we get going and we reach to that situation. Okay. So there's going to be 60 questions. 65% is the passing mark. passing mark. And this is what we need to focus on. Okay. This is straightforward, and believe me, it's not that challenging. Just a little bit dedication from your side, and you can get it done. Okay. This is where the things get really tricky. Okay. So part two is divided into two phases, phase one and phase two. Phase one is what we call design, application design. The application design needs you to score 75% to pass. Okay. The patterns keeps on changing, but for the last 1 year or so, the pattern has been that once you appear for the phase two, once you have cleared the part one of course, then only you can appear for phase part two, which is phase one. So you will get one question, only one question right now. Earlier they used to give 2, 3 questions, but right now this is just one question. One question you need to completely design. They will provide you a little bit authoring guide. They will provide you the format of your design that is called design template and a question. So you will get 14 days. If I look at the list of the participants that I have, I think everyone is non-native English speaker. Is that correct? You might be living in USA, UK, Australia, or anywhere. But if you belong to a place where English is not the primary language, you are non-native English speaker. I can take that as yes. So for everyone who is non-native English speaker, you get 14 days to complete your design. How you approach for it, once you have cleared the part one, after a few days, you can log on to academy.pega.com, go to training section. You will see a link there in the LSA curriculum, register for build, application design and build. You click on that, you need to make the payment, select the date and time, and then only make the payment, of course. So whatever date you select, 2 hours prior to that time, you will get your question and you need to submit in 14 days. You need to submit the design. There will be instruction how to submit and all that. You need to submit the design in 14 days. Remember, non-native English speaker, 14 days. Okay. Now, 14 days are more than enough actually, to be very honest. This takes around 40 hours to 45 hours, or at most you can say 50-55 hours of work is what needed. The standard says 35 hours. That's what the Pega standard says. For anyone who has a very good development experience and is really prepared for the to be the CLSA, it takes 35 hours only. But considering that no one is that perfect at the beginning, we can safely assume let's add 20 hours more, right? 30, so 55 hours are more than enough, to be very honest, for part one. Okay, phase one. If you score 75%, well and good. Once you submit your design, the Pega takes around 3 months to declare your result. The day they declare your result, from that day onward, within next 28 days, you need to start your phase two, which is application build.
So Mahesh, sorry to this. So in
No
the
problem.
application design, how the scoring is done? Like based on what parameters they will be giving.
So what happens? Okay, Pega has a case type, by the way. Okay, once you register, once you submit, it is all Pega case type. Okay, they have their own workflow. So once you submit your design, it goes to one of the CLSA evaluators. All right.
Mhm.
For every section that you see in the template, they have instruction how to rate it. Okay. For example, they have one instruction for the data model that have the candidate listed down all the data models. If yes, how much score to provide? Have the candidate provided any relation diagram? If yes, then how much score to provide? If not, then how much? So they have their own training. Okay. So they don't score as a rule. They score your individual section and then they don't give the complete score. And out of that, Pega has automatic logic to determine your overall score. So they will be evaluating section by section of your design, right? Of course, they will eventually have to provide a score per section. And that's where they read the content, how efficiently you have written the content, how convincingly you have written the content. Accordingly, they will provide the score. It's a subjective, by the way. A little bit luck factor is always there. I've seen people writing the similar design, one getting 85%, another one getting 20%. That happens. Okay. But if you do have a proper reasoning behind that, then you will clear it. Okay. So
Okay.
scoring works section by section, and there's a best practices for every section. You will get a design authoring guide along with your question that explains what to write in every section. Okay. And how to present that. I will show you that as well. Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay, I'll take that as
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So 75% is score, right? So you um, need to start build in next 28 days. Okay. If you score, let's say that you are not quite there yet, okay? You did not score 75, but if you score 60% plus, then Pega gives you a second chance instead of failing you. And this is what we call design fix. You need to start design fix in next 28 days again. You get 4 days to fix it. You will get a proper feedback, by the way. You will say that, okay, I'll start the fix on this date, that time. And on that date and that time, you will get a feedback. Based on the feedback, you will have to adjust your design. Okay. And resubmit that. See, if you get in this category, fair enough. If you get in this category, this is also good. Okay. You will not fail from here. Very unlikely. Unless you really mess up everything. So anything, this and this is good. If you come to this category, it's just that your result is delayed by another 2-3 months. That's it. But you will definitely pass after that because obviously there was a big problem. You would have failed. There isn't a big problem. You can fix it and get done it. Basically get done with it. Okay. Less than 60. Is where you are considered as failed, need to wait for 3 months. And start over. Start from this only, from page 1 only. It's not like that you will have to go to architecture exam again. Okay, restart page 1. Probably a different question. Okay. You do not want to fall in this category. That's the only thing you need to avoid. And believe me, 95% people appearing for LSA fall in this category, at least in the first go. Okay. And that's where we try to help people. That's where, and when we say that we try to help people, it's not cheat sheet or anything, it's preparation. It's trying to understand. Um, Certification is one thing, and that I consider as a secondary thing. Believe me, after this 60 hours of this training, you will be a better developer and obviously an architect in LSA, in Pega compared to what you are right now. Okay. My only expectation and request from all of you is to participate. Don't sit silent on the call. Wherever called upon, share your ideas. It might be good. It might be needing for improvement. There's nothing anything that is called as bad or anything, right? Either you learn or you get appreciated. That's it. Nothing else. No secondary answer. Okay. Or result. Anyway, this is what we need to avoid. So if you get, I mean, ultimately you need to get here. then only you can proceed to this. But if you get here, then too, it is very easy to get to 75% because you will get a feedback. You just have to adjust your design according to the feedback, which is good. But please don't try to fall in this category. And this is what we try to avoid. Once you clear the 75% mark, you can start the part two, phase two in a 28 days. Again, you need to build the same design that you have presented in phase one. It's not going to be a different design. It's not going to be a different question. It's the same question, same design you need to build. You will also get some feedback from your design. Even if you have passed, you have scored more than 75, maybe 80, 85 or 90 as well. You will still have some feedback. You need to evaluate those feedbacks carefully. Those should be definitely very minor ones. Some might need correction. Some might just be for the information purpose. Take the call accordingly. You get 7 days. 7 days to completely build that build that design. Remember, it's completely on constellation. It's no longer Cosmos. Okay. So 7 days to complete the build. Okay. The scoring pattern is exactly the same. So let me just copy that. If you score 75%, congratulations. You are an LSA. Okay. Certified LSA. If you score 60% but less than 75%, you need to start application fix. In next 28 days, you will get 4 days to fix it. If you score less than 60%, you will fail and you need to wait for 3 months and restart from the page one. You need to go to design again. You cannot restart the page two. By the way, I have not seen anyone come to this category. Whoever has cleared the application design themselves, they never fail in a year. Okay. Around 5 people, 5 to 10% people come here in this category. They might have to fix something in the build, but 95% people simply pass that. Okay. Build is easy. With the constellation, there is trick. A lot of people are not familiar with that. So I'm seeing a little bit different pattern here. But people will just take a few, maybe a month to just be adaptive to constellation. And after that, it will be similar situation. Nobody actually fails there in the application build. Unless you somehow cheated in the phase one, phase two, you are not able to cheat and you don't know how to develop an application in Pega, then only you will fail. If you don't know how to develop an application. Otherwise, it's quite good. So again, 3 months is what they take to give you result, right? If you come to the application build, basically app fix, then again another 3 months. So it might get extended, but if you get it all done in one go, typically it takes 6 to 8 months to acquire your CLSA from the date you start. Okay. It is a long journey, I understand. Sometimes it gets really frustrating as well. I understand that too. But believe me, it's really a worth certification. Okay. If done rightly. Any question from anyone?
Hi, Manish. Kavya here. So after completion of part one, within how many days do we need to appear for part two?
There is no time limitation, Tanya. It is up to your planning. Okay. However, there is version limitation. So, for example, anyone appearing in phase two, part two, basically of Pega 23, need to have acquired the part one version 8 or higher. Okay, 8 point anything. So that kind of limitation is there, but there's no time duration limitation that, okay, you have cleared the part one today, within next 6 months, you need to appear for part two, nothing like that.
Okay. And second question is for a part two, wherever we are applying for a phase one application design, do they give a platform access or do we need to design?
I will guide you about that. So in the CLSA journey, they have a Linux lightweight processor which you can install into VM and run that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's one thing. Second option is to go for the community edition. Okay,
Mhm.
that's the second option. And these are the only two options, unless you have some lab or something other than that from your organization perspective. Okay, but they do not specifically provide any environment. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whenever we are giving our final application build, we have to export the RAF file and give it to them.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, got it.
Hmm.
Thanks.
No problem.
Mahesh, Yogesh here. I just wanted to have a
Yeah, Yogesh. Yeah, tell me.
so this LSA is going to be in constellation, as you already mentioned, right?
Correct.
So when it comes to build, right? So
Mm,
I see that Constellation, most of the UI components which are present are in React, right?
correct.
Are we supposed to have some kind of awareness of how actually React works?
No,
This is
no, not for the LSA. That is mostly useful in the project when we have a front-end built in different technology.
right.
So here we will be building everything in Pega only.
Okay, so the focus of the app build will be focused entirely on Pega components, not the other like React or something, right?
No, no, that is correct. We
Okay.
will not be focusing on Node.js, AngularJS or anything. Not even, not, I mean, let alone the focusing, we will not even be discussing about that, okay?
Right, right.
Entirely Pega, entirely Pega. Pega
Right.
CLSA, by the way, does not impose any external dependency, okay?
Cool. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Any other question?
I have
Yeah,
a question. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead,
uh,
please.
yes, this is Samapika. So you were saying if, let's say, we clear this phase one of application design, and then we have 28 days to start the build, right? So how do we approach for this build? I mean, do we again contact them there?
So what happens? You will have to, you will register for phase one via portal, okay?
Yes.
Once the result is declared on the very same portal, you will see a link there where you can declare when you want to start the part two, okay? Phase two, the build. And that's where basically you will be uploading your documents as well. The zip file, for example, the extract files from build or the design basically. So this all will happen on that portal itself.
And but how about the design document that we are going to share? That is by via email only.
No, no, that is also not via email. That is on the same process wise. Okay. So you
Okay.
register, you select your time and everything. After that time has reached, you will see a link on the same portal there where you can upload. I mean, you will have to put your design document into a zip folder. Okay. I mean, you'll have to put it into a folder and zip it. Okay. There's a name nomenclature and all that involved. And then you upload that on the same portal.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Sai, and I have a question. So
Awesome.
during this course, Mahesh, do we get any sample previous questions for the practice purposes, or will you guide us through any questions that was already attempted and for the practice purposes?
Yes, I'm coming to that only. Okay.
All right.
After the exam structure, I will talk about what we are going to cover in the part two. Okay. So just
All right.
bear with me and ask that question again if you don't get answer. Okay.
Sure.
All
Thank you.
right. Anything else on the pattern wise, guys? Any other question from anyone? No? Okay. Now let's talk about the training. The curriculum, you should already have the TOC, so I'm not going to run on that. Okay. So the training involve, like I said, part one and part two both. So let's talk about part one, of course, theory. I will cover the theory quickly. Okay. I will cover the theoretical part quickly, which is okay. Part one. This is where things are a little tricky. So in part two, what I'm going to do is I am going to share with you one recent Remember, guys, I will not be touching upon any current question. Okay, that's illegal, and that will get us all disqualified. So I will not discuss, mention, answer any questions related to the current CLSA questions. Okay, but there is going to be one question which is very recent. So one scenario, and that will be real LSA scenario. Okay. I will share this scenario maybe by the second session or third session, maybe tomorrow or once we meet on next Saturday. This scenario we are going to design completely on this session and build completely. Design and build both. Okay. So one LSA question, which is real and recent, we're going to design and build. And then I will share one more scenario, the second scenario, which is one more scenario basically. Again, a recent LSA scenario only that you all will be designing. So this I will share towards the mid of this program, okay? Sorry. So you all will be designing and we will discuss in this session, basically, we will discuss the design. So I will invite you all to share your design, and that's what I said, right? It depends. I mean, there are certain sessions reserved for you guys to participate. And if you all share basically your design, then we will consume all the sessions. If you not share, then obviously less time needed for that, right? But we will be discussing that design. I will ask everyone to present their design, and then I will present the actual design, which is kind of approved, and we will discuss about that. Build is supposed to be taken offline. It is up to you. And not included in this program. However, if someone is proactive enough and they are building while the sessions are still running, I will be more than happy to answer any questions you guys have. Okay. So this is going to be the pattern. Two actual scenarios we are going to touch upon. One scenario, 100% design, 100% build. That we will do in this program itself, in the session. Second, I will ask you guys to practice yourself, try your best based on the experience from the past design. You guys will design yourself and then you will present it in front of entire group. We will learn from each other as well. Some terminologies, some methodologies, right? We will learn that. And then I will discuss that situation, that scenario with you all. And then we will leave it, the build, basically, we'll leave that up to you guys. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, one unrelated question. Sorry for that. Is there any missions that we need to complete as a prerequisite to this certification on PDN course, or?
LSA mission, see, prerequisite, we expect, like I said at the beginning, we expect that you are a good developer, good experienced developer, basically. There's no definition of good or bad, but at least you have 3 years of minimum 3 years of actual development experience. Then it is supposed to be, I mean, we all understand that you will, I mean, not just you, I mean, everyone will have a good understanding of CSA, CSSA. So you don't have to get into that again. However, the CLSA mission has to be completed, and that is the part 1. Okay. The CLSA mission,
Alright.
and that has to be completed. And based on that, only you will clear the part 1. Strictly from the CLSA mission.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. Any other question?
Mahesh, one more thing. When you're saying 2 scenarios you're going to discuss, so
Mhm.
these scenarios are expected to be from the constellation part of it, right? It's not like the old Pega 8 scenarios, right?
No, these are Pega 8 scenarios, Samapika.
Oh, so
Okay.
this is not going to be the recent constellation ones.
Constellation has only one set. Constellation since the launch. I cannot share that with you. Okay. I have evaluated the constellation and non-constellation scenarios are exactly same. There are two differences. Okay. We no longer have reports. We have insights,
Right.
which I will talk about. Rest, basically the UI part, which is never mentioned in any scenario anyway, right? UI is not part of scenario. UI is part of the development, how you present it. So I will present, I've seen the current scenario. I've seen what Pega is running in Constellation. You will get the exact similar difficulty question, okay?
Okay.
Yes. I cannot share the current scenario. It will get us all disqualified.
Okay.
Yeah. But you will not lose anything. You will get the complete context of Constellation based. Don't worry. Any other question?
Hi Mahesh, I have one question. If we complete the Pega Academy CLSA mission course, like can we able to clear the part 1?
Yes. Yes. You all will be able to clear, and tomorrow I will talk about, basically I will inquire about how many of you need to complete that. In the next session, I will discuss how to approach that. There are some tricks that you need to follow. Again, when I'm saying a trick, I'm not saying any cheat sheet. I'm only saying the strategy. I don't believe in any shortcut. I believe that getting it done efficiently yourself is the best thing, and that's what I will be focusing upon. But however, you can strategize is better. Okay, so how to appear and how to plan your exam is a critical part, because sometimes we get into panic mode and that's where our entire exam is ruined. So how to avoid those kind of things, I will discuss that. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And are you going to cover the basics of the constellation as well as part of this training?
So in the build, I will have to eventually cover some basics, Soumya. But I'm not going to cover the CSSA level. Whatever comes as part of the scenario in order to build, I'll explain that.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other question?
Mahesh, will you give us training on 23.1?
Yes, it will be 23. Okay. Cool. Are we good? Any other question? Last call.
Yeah, this is Priya here. So for
Yeah.
architecture exam, do you have or like will you be supplying any extra materials other than the PDN, or is it only the
No
PDN?
material, no dumps, nothing. I'll
Okay.
just provide you the strategy how to prepare for this, Priya. And I will
Okay.
walk you through the content itself as well. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Hey, hi, Jeet here.
Yeah,
Manish.
yeah, go ahead, please.
So this installer you shared, right, for doing the practicals or building our application, right? So the installer is I don't have Windows, so I was trying to install on Mac, but it looks like it did not go as easy as Windows. Even though I
Yeah,
tried to install Windows on the virtual machine, but still it did not go through on Mac. Any ideas in
Mac
past?
M1 or something, some series have problem with the virtual box.
Right, right. VirtualBox, anyways, it won't work. But is there any other options or in past you have?
You can rely on the community edition for now, Ajay. Okay.
So community edition, when you say it's the Pega trial,
Pega trial, correct.
okay, but that's
And
only 1 month, right?
yeah, you can extend it. Okay? You just have to drop any message, okay? And they will extend it.
How long they extend for? I mean, will they extend until like let's say?
Ajay, there's a smart way to that as well. Work on it. I mean, they can easily extend it for 2-3 months. Okay.
Okay.
Keep your backup. Take the extract after it get expired. Just request for another trial. Okay.
Okay, so we can do that way, and I
Yeah.
can do the exam also on that Pega trial.
You can do that. Yes.
Right.
Correct. Correct.
There's no risk of losing.
No risk,
Mm.
but you will mostly will have to rely on your backup. Make sure that you keep backup, regular backup. Okay. However, for the exam, I would say just arrange any Windows laptop if possible. If you're not, I'm not basically that much infrastructure guy from the basically virtual machine perspective. Okay. I'm infrastructure guy from the Pega CLSA perspective, but not virtual machine. So if you find a solution, you can search for Google, fair enough. But otherwise, for the exam, try to arrange one Windows laptop for at least those 7 days. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to look if anyone in the past had similar problem, and you got to know about it, and you have way.
I know
Anyways,
that it
that's
doesn't
okay.
work. They
Mm.
have found some solution, but I'm not fully aware of that right now.
Okay. Okay. Sure. And then second part, right? So you were saying that for the exam, constellation, right? It will be only very high level. What do you mean by it's high level? Like, is it the exam specific they will ask high level in LSA, or you're saying that you, as part of your course, you will be going through high level, but we can attempt to use it in our exercises like in detail and learn it.
Sorry, Ajit, can you repeat the second line? Somehow I did not quite get that.
So constellation, right? So let's say constellation is entirely new. I think most of us have not even put a hand on constellation, but the 23.1 is on constellation, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Right. So how much of the focus on constellation will be as part of this training, LSA training? Are we going to do good
Everything
work on the constellation so that we
good
can
work.
learn as part of this training?
Good work. Yes. You will be
Okay.
building
Okay.
one complete scenario on that, Ajit. So yes, good
Yeah.
exercise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Right. Because I just now heard that you said it will be only high level. Will only focus on what is
No,
required on the exam. But I was wishing to learn constellation as part of the exercise.
See, what happens in CSS, CSSA, and Pega in general, there's so many areas, right? But not every scenario covers every area. So what I
Okay.
mentioned is that whatever is needed for that scenario, will cover it, and we will cover
Okay.
it
Okay.
in basics only, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it may not require everything, but obviously most of the things are going to be covered. And I will also talk about from the second or third session onward, I'll talk about some foundation courses that I would like you guys to go through before we start the build.
Okay. Yeah. And okay. Sure. Sure. Thanks. And then third question, right? So that software you shared for the prior videos, right? To go through that software also did not work on Mac.
Ajit, so I am from the training perspective. Anything with regard to Pega and training, I can handle. Those things are something that you'll have to take up with Chandu.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
The intra side, the meeting side, and everything, basically that Chandu manages that. Okay.
Okay. Sure. I'll talk to him then.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes. No problem. Anything else, guys? Okay, cool. So I think now we have the expectation clear. Let's talk about how we are going to start now. Okay. So theory, there's plenty of the theory part that we will have to cover, obviously. And if we start covering that, we will end up spending maybe 6-7 sessions on the theory, and we will leave only, a few sessions. I mean, not a few, it's still a good amount of session for the build. So we will not do that. We will not cover the entire theory. Okay. But in order to start the design and build, you need certain basic theoretical knowledge, either to be gained or to be refreshed. So for the first few sessions, 2 or 3 sessions, I'm going to run the theory where I will cover the bare minimum that is needed, which is application design, and case design, and data model. Without this, you cannot start part 2. So we will discuss these 3 things first, and then we will jump on the scenario. So today, by end of the day or tomorrow, next session, I will share the question so that you also get enough time to read. Okay. before we start the design. So after this, we will start the scenario design. After the scenario design, we will do the scenario build. Well, while we have covered most of the build item, I will start covering theory plus build. So maybe 1 hour per day theory after we have covered considerable amount of build. So 1 hour of theory and just 2 hours of build towards the end of the build. And then eventually we will have 3 sessions left or so. That's where we will decide, we will delegate 2 sessions for design discussions for scenario 2. The last session would be for how do we approach for part 2. And any ad hoc question, any ad hoc thing you guys want to discuss, so that we will cover in last session. That's how the structure of this program is going to be. Cool. All good. Everyone, any question? Shall we get started now? That is yes.
Yes, from
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Sai. So like I said, let's get started with application design. Okay. Like I said, the part 1 is strictly on the CLSA mission. Okay. So even though I'm going to cover that, everything, you do not have to wait for me. Okay. So you can just basically continue doing that even from this moment, right after you leave this training, whenever you're comfortable. Don't stop for me, by the way, guys. I will definitely cover. I would like you all to cover the part 1 before the end of the training. Complete the part 1. So please get started. I'm also going to cover the CLSA mission part only, nothing additional. Okay. So I do have some PDFs for that, and you might have to just run through the CLSA mission online, but yeah, the content is same. Okay, let's get started. First thing we are going to cover is Pega, basically application structure design. Okay. Right, so some of you might be really experienced who have worked on Pega 6 or Pega 7, right? And then obviously for the last 5-6 years, 7 years, you guys would have been working on Pega 8, right? Pega 8 has. So you do understand the application structure, right? But let's relook it. It will be easier to easier to relate for the people who have worked on the previous version. For the new batch people who has never worked on the Pega 7 or 6, please do ask any questions you guys have if you don't understand. Okay. So application structure, guys, as part of the architecture's job, it is important for us to understand how our design today is going to pan out for the organization in the future. Okay. So if I say that what decision I'm going to make architecturally today and how it is going to affect tomorrow, right, or future, It's not like a guess game. It's not astrology. No, nothing. That must be based on some hard fact. And those hard facts come from the business in the form of business goals and objectives. It also comes in the form of project mission, project, vision document that we say, right? So far, some of you might have got that kind of a scope where you are interacting with the folks at the higher level, and you are involved in the discussions related to the business objective and overall the project mission and all those things. But the people who have not been participating in those kind of things, get prepared. Try to understand how a project is executed. Whenever a company plans, wherever a client plans for a project, they have some sort of vision, definitely some sort of vision. If you don't know, that means you just don't know, but that has to be there. That has to be something like that. In order to design an application structure, especially for the scenarios when you are building from scratch, there is nothing previously there, okay? A new module is being built altogether. There might be another Pega project, but this is completely unrelated module. You need to have your basically hands on the vision documents to try to understand that, okay, maybe right now I'm doing this, but in the future, these are the things which are planned out. And this is what you keep in mind in order to design the application structure. This is not hard, this is not a guess game. Sometime, and you will also feel that once we start designing, some of you basically will come up something like this, that, okay, what if in the future they do that? What if in the future they do that? Yes, there's no end what anyone can do in the future. But is it implied? Do you really think you can foolproof the future? 100%? No. If you cannot foolproof 100%, then it is up to the individual thought process only, right? What you think could happen in the future, and I might think something entirely different thing, right? Agree, everyone?
Yes.
Guys, please participate. Yes, no, yes, any different opinion, please speak out. If you participate, you will learn. Otherwise, you will get into the habit of just listening, and sometimes sleeping. Okay. So don't rely on, don't blindly rely on future. In the future, this could happen. That future without any written indication is as good as your imagination. Somebody else might have better imagination than you, or a bad imagination than you, but there is no right and wrong answer in that case. So that's why never, ever try to foolproof the future. You cannot. It's just that not in your hand. What you should try to basically foolproof is the vision. If I know that today they are launching a customer service application for North America region, and there is a vision statement that let's start with North America region, and in the future we will extend it to other market, then I know what I need to do. I know I need to build some sort of some sort of framework, or some sort of not exactly that framework, but some sort of reusable component which can be extended to other geography as well. Then I know, and I need to take care of that. But not blindly. If someone is asking, for example, is just to build for me right now, and there's no such vision future, then you cannot say that, okay, maybe this organization is currently in the US or in the India, but in the future they might be in the UK too. Why don't we consider that? No, don't consider that. Understood?
Yes, Mahesh.
Thank you. So whenever you are developing an application, consider the business goals and objective. At the same time, you will also have to decide the layer sometime, okay? You will have to decide when to build a framework, when to build an implementation, sometime you will have kind of a reusable asset, a reusable application, and on top of several implementation application, you need to decide whether to create different applications for different geography or keep one application and extend it and do some specialization. A lot of things will come in the mind. And that's where you need to understand the people who are involved in the business, the data that is involved in the business, and all the reusable element. You need to consider these 4 critical parts whenever you look at or whenever you're trying to design the application structure. Understood? Now, there is one thing where people a lot of time gets confused, and they are still confused, okay? Especially the keyword framework. Implementation is quite clear, though. Framework is a little confusing sometimes, okay? So earlier, we used to have framework applications. We still have. It's not like that it has vanished altogether, right? No. It is there. But we are no longer building any framework application post Pega 7.3. Okay. After that, we are recommending to not build any framework. So what was in the framework? What is framework and that we are no longer building? Can anyone tell me what is a framework application?
We keep all the reusable code in the frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So framework is kind of a foundation where you build your base, and then on top of that, you kind of extend and specialize that
okay.
for any of your either line of businesses or different other business units, right? So it's a kind of foundation.
Anyone else? Anything to add?
A reusable layer of entire organization, it's kind of like that, and all the application has to be built on top of it, like it has to be the base of the rest of the application that
Part is that all of the application has to be built on top of that. Okay, cool. Anyone else? You guys are right, but this can be true for enterprise application too. So how is framework different than enterprise? You all are right, in a way.
The,
There's
comp
no difference.
the components on the framework can be reused easily if there is a framework.
The component on any application can be reused easily, not just the framework.
So unless
Component is altogether a different application, different type of application.
only when it is used as a component, but if you want to reuse an existing application features onto a different region or zone or something like that specifically,
You can do that from the enterprise, or you can create a reusable application at all altogether.
okay.
Enterprise is not region dependent, right? Enterprise has to be used for every region that you build application for.
Right.
We do build enterprise applications now, right? More than ever. So what is different?
Framework application basically will not have any logics of the application. It will only have the abstract components which can be used.
It will only have abstract, so why do we define there? If it doesn't have any logic, what's the point of defining that in framework?
Yeah, so
It
framework,
can be reusable.
If there's no logic, what will you reuse?
so it's something at the organization level, we'll build up the framework, and for different line of business, we can extend at the application level. That is at the implementation level. So framework is something which is for an organization, we build a scratch application. So having some generic things around the framework layer.
How will you define the organization application then?
Can you come again? What's the question?
What is the organization application, the enterprise layer? What we talk about? What is that thing?
So your organization is something where you will keep all your mostly the integration components, as it would be common towards entire organization, maybe security components, which is enterprise wide, right? So kind of things. Framework do not align with organization, right? Framework is more towards your business unit, but then you want to build a abstract.
I'm not talking about the Pega framework you are inclined to.
Okay. Sorry, so I missed that. What do you mean by you are not talking about framework?
When I'm not talking about I mean, you mentioned that framework are more like a business area, right? I'm talking about the framework application that an individual organization builds, and which is different than the framework that Pega provides, which are specific to business areas. You're getting me, right?
So Pega provides framework, or an organization build a custom framework. It's the same thing. Right? Both are building it to be extended, building
That
it to
is
be
correct.
common.
That is correct. I'm not saying that this is not correct. I did not say that anyone's definition of framework is different, is wrong,
Yeah,
but it is
right.
incomplete. There is, I mean, the same definition applies for enterprise organization, enterprise or organization layer as well. But there's one
No,
basic
enterprise layer, you can't put your application or your business rules, right?
I can.
You
Right.
can.
So for example, right, so you have Pega platform, right? And then on top of that, there are a lot of frameworks that Pega has built, right? Someone are inclined towards your business specific, like payment, financials or healthcare and insurance and all. But then there is a Pega decisioning. It's not a business component.
No,
Right?
so this is the misconception. Decisioning is definitely a framework, but that's not the definition of framework application. Okay.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Decisioning is not the framework, right?
Okay.
It's a platform component, right? Framework is where you have built a set of business logic or base flow of that business area, or that unit or whatever, whichever area you're building, and then you specialize it.
Okay. These are my implementation applications. Okay. Everyone, app A has case A. It needs to have customer integration. My customer records are in some other applications, and I need an integration in order to bring that up. Okay. And it also needs a product integration. So customers have product. That is again another inventory application. I need to bring that up. I mean, it needs to have use SSO. Clear? App A?
So
Could you
your
repeat?
app is what? App is implementation or
Implementation. These
How
all
are
are
you?
implementation application. Okay. The app A has a case type A. Okay. It needs to have customer integration, which we are bringing from another application. Okay. It needs to have product integration, which we are bringing from another application. It needs to use SSO in Pega. Okay. Clear, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Application B has another case type, case B. This also needs customer integration and SSO. Application C has case type C. It needs product integration and SSO. Application D has case D requirement. Okay. I'm not saying these applications are built. Let's say that someone comes to you as an LSA and says that I need these applications with these features. Will you build a framework application? Let's say it is Pega 7.1. Will you build a framework application? If yes, what content will you put into that?
Yes, there is an option to build framework application. It makes more sense because customer integration, product integration, SSO can go into framework, and then other implementation application can extend from it or customize if required. But cases will go extends only discretely into the implementation application, not into framework.
That's precisely how you do in enterprise application, Samapika. Okay.
Okay.
That's what you do in enterprise application.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? What will you put into the framework?
SSO we can keep in the framework
Why?
because it can be used by if we keep there, it can be reusable for other applications too.
Okay. What else?
So I'm probably confused. Yeah.
That's okay. That's
So
what I'm trying to remove actually.
yeah. So you're saying that app A, app B, app C, app D are implementation.
Yes.
Implementation in the sense you're talking about general implementation requirement, or you're talking about implementation
I'm talking
application?
about if you need to build these many applications and end applications, will you build a framework? If yes, what content will you put in the framework?
So when you say framework, then there is still an enterprise layer, right? Enterprise component.
Build that. Will you build
Right?
framework
So,
today? Will you build framework today in 8?
No.
Why?
No.
Why not?
There's no need of framework, right? There's no concept of
Why?
framework as such.
Why?
If you
That's what I'm asking. Why?
Because
because
now you can
every
build the go ahead.
so that framework concept has changed, right?
Okay.
From past, right? So you can say that Pega ships framework of a different industry lines, right? But when it comes to building an application, then you have your application layer, right, which is very specific to your business requirement. And then you have your built-on layers, right? It can go on and on and on based on what design you choose, right? And then you kind of abstract the components, right? So here, for example, your SSOs are there. It has to be on the enterprise. It cannot come down.
All right.
So it's kind of that I see that way. So your product integration can go on the framework, as it can be. I mean, when I say framework means it can go on the build on or enterprise. Right.
So Ajit, what happened? Hold on. Framework means okay. Prior to 7.3, you did not have the ability to add multiple built-on application. You guys remember? Anyone?
Yeah, right. That's true.
Yes.
And what it means is that you can inherit from only one application, correct?
True.
That's where we were building the framework. What framework means is any application having any component that has to be defined in the framework first. Got it? Which means typically I will have case A, B, C, D all defined in this. And customer, product. It used to be a kind of monolithic application that everything that any application is going to be using has to be defined here. Maybe basic only, and then be extended by the individual application to basically implement it further. That was the framework. Okay. It's like chassis of a car. You will have a different engine. You will have basically boot build differently, but the chassis has to support all of those, correct? The chassis has the space to hold the engine, correct?
Right.
Got it? Now, since we have introduced the multiple built-on application, Pega is saying don't build these kind of applications. That's where the framework has changed. Don't build everything in one application, because every time you make any change, there's so much effort to maintain that, so much effort to test it if it has not broken down anything. Why? We are moving towards modular applications, okay? And that's where the enterprise application has taken a central seat. Now this one says, and not just the enterprise, you can build any reuse application, which says build the individual features. If it can be reused by other applications, just have it on the build on stack. And we build enterprise, by the way, which has the organization specific reusable component, which is being reused in more than one application, and often more than 10 applications, more than 90% or 20% whatever you decide there, okay? So in this case, if I have to build an enterprise application, I will not consider case one. I will consider these three elements, because these are being used in more than one application. So I will bring them into the enterprise application, but not the case types. Understood?
I have a question here, Mahesh. So how do you
Mhm.
differentiate between an enterprise layer and a framework application?
Like I said, framework means that any application that is going to use the framework, its structure has to be defined in the framework first.
Mhm.
Okay?
You mean the
And
inherited classes should be definitely present in the framework?
exactly. And then you inherit. That's how the frameworks were being built. Okay?
Okay,
And it was being built because of the limitation of having just single built-on application.
understood.
Yes. Now with multiple built-on application, which was enabled in 7.3, I guess, 7.2 or 7.3 only. Yeah. Afterwards, you can actually, you can have multiple built-on application, and that's where our focus has been towards, modular application. And that's what you will see here in CLSA program, okay? You will see in every question, you will be building more than one application, and often very modular application. So be prepared for that, okay?
So
Mahesh,
in this scenario, sorry,
Mhm.
Yogesh, to cut
yeah,
you
yeah,
off.
go ahead.
One
Go
last
ahead.
question. Yeah. So in this case, you are building 4 different applications. You mean to say first you are going to build an enterprise layer which contains of the reusable components like product integration and SSO, and then
Correct.
put the same enterprise as a base, and on the top of it, it will be A, B, C, D as independent.
BFC. Yeah, and there are several other things as well, by the way, okay? I can build an SSO specific application, very small, that can be added as a different application, not necessarily keep it in the enterprise. I can add an integration application that only deals with, there are several versions of this setup, okay? But at a high level, basic structure would be that what you just mentioned.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Yogesh. Yeah.
Yeah. So to continue what Sai has asked, so the difference between the enterprise and framework comes down like this, right? Let's say if I have an application which has to leverage uh, some components from decisioning or from customer service framework. So both of these applications should be in the
See, these, when you say that framework, decisioning, marketing, customer service, smart dispute, these are called framework in a different sense. They
yes,
are
they
actually
are
an
framework.
application. They are implementation application, by the way.
Right. Yes.
Okay, they are called called as a framework from the functional perspective. They are not actually a framework application. Okay, they are actual an application. You can run them as it is. Got it?
Right. Yeah. But we may have
These,
some components in the decisioning that might be useful for our application.
then have it all in the built-on structure. That is okay.
It's on the built on structure, right? So the
Correct.
enterprise specific data or SSO, the users and everything, it's a
That
repository.
will still remain in the enterprise application.
Enterprise layer. All right.
Correct. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
Also, one question. So, can we use any application as a component?
Yes, you can. But
So
there
what
is a
is the difference?
different thing about the component. That is a topic that will come.
Oh, all right.
Component is usually work pool less application. Okay. There
Okay.
is difference between the application and component. If see anything that is that is having work pool. What consists work pool, by the way? What consists work pool?
I'm sorry. So the work pool basically consists of class instances.
No, work pool is basically org hyphen app hyphen work. This is work pool, correct?
Yes.
That is correct, right? This has to have application, the work pool. If anything has an application, app, classes in that, that's no longer a component, by the way. Okay. You can create that way, but that's an incorrect definition. So we'll discuss. Component is a topic there. Okay. Any other question, guys, on this? This is clear, right?
Hi Mahesh, I have one question.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, can you go to that scenario screen once? It means in this scenario, we are going with the, we are keeping the reusable code in the enterprise layer, not in the framework layer, right?
We will no longer be creating framework. I explained this just to understand the difference. Okay.
Okay.
Frameworks are no longer being created. Okay.
It means if we are purchasing from the Pega,
No,
can
those
we
are
use?
not this framework. This is technical framework definition. And those are actually not framework application in this sense. They are just the application provided by Pega. We call them as a framework from the business sense. Got it?
Yeah,
The customer service is not a framework like this. The customer services are an application like this, app A only, okay? But we call them as a framework because Pega, see, that's the English meaning of framework, okay? Something that you can reuse, that you can build on top of this. This is what the framework English meaning is, correct? But they are not actually a framework application by this definition. Got it? So don't get confused with that framework with this current framework.
Okay, got it.
This framework application used to have FW classes. Remember?
Yes, I remember.
Correct. And that is the customer service that you see right now. The Pega marketing, Pega decisioning, they all are application developed by Pega. They're not framework application in this by this definition, okay? But we call them as a framework because they are something to build upon. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Mahesh, one last question about the framework, just a last question. So, regarding the framework, right? So, it used to be like this, right? So, previously, Pega, whatever, so the project that I worked on, it had a framework, and the framework is a warranty application that's being used by multiple other applications. So kind of we built an application to have it reused across multiple organizations. So, is it
multiple organizations?
So yeah, so the warranty framework application is something that can be reused because it must be having so many usable components and all that. So now, let's say if I build an application which I think might be marketed as a probable framework application, is that not possible now in Pega?
That is possible. Why not?
So
I mean, you can still build the framework.
okay,
That's why I asked multiple organizations. If you're looking really something as global as that, multiple use typically the project scopes are within the organization only. That's why I was asking that. Okay, that multiple organizations.
Right.
So if you're building something like that, but you don't have to build a framework. You can just build a normal application. And ship it. Yes.
Understood.
Yeah. So, and anything basically that is supposed to be used by the end user is called implementation application. So, implementation or production application, right? So, see, framework structure application acts as a template for constructing implementation. So, template means everything has to be there in the template, right? And then you build on top of that. An implementation structure is something that you create on top of it. Right now, the representation is completely different. This is the current situation, okay? You build an enterprise application, a bunch of other reusable applications, and you keep building on that basically specific applications. And at the top basically is what you have the, at the top you have the implementation applications or production application, whatever you call them, okay? We will have more scenario like this. When we have just started this discussion, we will discuss that, and I'll spend considerable amount of time on this because a lot of people get confused. Building an application is a very rare thing. Most of you might have never built an application in a project anyway. So spending some time on this is good. Okay, that is okay. That's worth the investment of the time that we're doing. All right, let's keep. Okay, so this, before I get into this is the right time to take a little break, guys. So we're going to take a quick 15-minute break, get ourselves some tea, coffee, whatever you would like to have as a refreshment. Please come back in 15 minutes. We'll resume from there, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Another basically conceptual thing or theoretical thing, and a little bit a difference in understanding from the technical and functional perspective is with regard to microjourney. Okay. Some of you might be coming from CDH background who probably understand what is journey for a customer, but microjourney is a little related, but a bit different as well. So what is a micro journey? What exactly a micro journey for a project? Let's try to understand it from different perspective, okay? It is functional, like I said. It means much more sense to business people than the technical folks. But LSA is not just a technical person. We need to understand the business features. You need to understand the business terminology and hence the business, significance of microjourney. Okay. So let's take it in a way that you are approaching a bank or a bank approached you for the first time. You do not have any prior engagement with that bank, nothing, no relation at all, right? They engaged you or you engaged them for something, maybe a loan, an auto loan, a housing loan, a credit card, a saving account, a current account, whatever is that, right? So the day you become the customer of that bank or the first interaction, the day you have that first interaction with the bank is when your journey with the organization, and in that case, that bank, right, is started. All right. And it will continue until you decide to completely part the ways with the bank. That's customer journey in the normal sense. Okay. Now, in between, there are several business processes that will come on your way. Even at this, from the starting point, right? Let's say you applied for a home loan. That home loan is a business process, right? You submit an application, there's scrutiny, there's document submission, then scrutiny, credit check, so many things until you get a decision that your loan is approved, and then you get the dispersal of the amount and blah, 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 right? That is a major business process. I'm talking about the business process, not at all the technical Pega process, okay? This is all business sense. Sometime later, you might decide to opt for a credit card. That's a different business process. So a business process that has a life cycle and produces a result is called microjourney. Please try to understand this. Need to have a business, need to have a life cycle and produces an end result. The end result could be a physical result, could be a logical result, could be a anything, but it should produce a result, okay? Physical or logical. Got it? In certain situation, you will see the result is just an input for other business process, which is good, right? But as long as that has completed its life cycle, it is okay. Now the question is, what is life cycle? Can anyone explain what is life cycle?
Anything which has multiple stages and steps and follows through the entire process, like involving multiple people required who can interact with the particular process, and there is an end result.
Okay, anyone else?
It's an end-to-end business process.
So life cycle could be execution journey, right? For anything, right? So business or in any general scenario, from start to end, how that execution proceeds in the different phases or stages, right? That's what life cycle could be.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, it's something like the same kind of things what other explanations was given. Like it is from the starting of the like the interaction till the resolution of the case. So starting of the problem statement, like if a customer raises something until the resolution of it, along with the different stages and steps, different alternate stages what it can take, everything which comes to the resolution.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Yeah, life cycle, very general and straightforward meaning, of course, just like human life, right? How does it, how it goes, right? I mean, we are born one day, right? We are called newly born, taken care by our parents. Understand this, okay? Understand your dependency on other folks, because that's what translate to the stakeholder in the case type, okay? And micro journey. So understand that as well. Your context changes, right? You become a teenager, you still are dependent upon your family, your parents, but at the same time you interact with your friends. You're most of the time when you're planning with your friends and other things goes, right? You become young, you go to college, you interact with another set of people at a different stage. Your responsibility increases in a sense. Basically, you get married, you have a spouse to take care of. Your dependency again changes. Sometimes some people are dependent on you, you are dependent on some people, then you grow old and you finally die. That's how a life progresses. What happens in this life? Our state changes, our status changes, right? One day we are newly born, one day we are adult, one day we are basically grown-up people, right? Another day we are grown up completely and we are probably going to die. I mean, things happen, right? But at the same time, there are several different set of people who are involved in our life, right? Those are the stakeholder in our case type, right? So this is the feature of a case type as well. The case type or business process, actually, in this sense, right now we're not talking about the case type, we're talking about the business process. So there are in the business process, the process evolves over the period of time. Okay, evolves in the sense that status change. Sometime an application is a new application. then it is in progress application, under verification, under is scrutiny, under this, that, whatever it is, right? And then different set of people are interacting during the application submission. It's someone from the organization assisting you, assisting the customer or the subject basically of that application. Then someone other set of people evaluating that, approving that. That could be a different set of people processing it, a different set of people. That's exactly what is said to have life cycle. Different people or different stakeholder at different stage, having more than one stages, of course, as well. And the status changes over the period of time. Any process that has these features is said to have life cycle. Okay. So any business process which has a life cycle and produces a result, end result, is called micro journey. Now let's understand a little bit technical aspect of this. Some people really gets very confused with, okay, this is exactly what the definition of a case type is, correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
This is precisely how you define a case type too. And this is correct. But business process might involve more than one case type. Okay. Business process of the micro journey scope is a little bigger than the case type, though the definition seems very similar and they are completely in different context. All right. This processing let's say that the housing loan application is a business process, but eventually in the case type, you might have different set of cases. One case to submit the application, normal approval, other case probably to do some customer onboarding, blah, blah, blah. There's several other things, right? Some credit check, so many things that can be configured as a case type, different case types, sub case or otherwise, right? So things might change from the case type perspective, but business process will remain. Until that task is completed from the business perspective, it is single micro journey. Any question? Okay. Now comes the most important part. Okay. And please be careful about this. Just give me 1 sec, guys. Please, 1 second. I'm just waiting.
Mahesh, are you speaking something? I'm not.
Just 1 second. Sorry. Just 1 second. Huh?
Sorry. Okay.
Sorry. Right. I'm really sorry about that part. Okay. So this is the most important step. Because once you start your part 2, you will have to identify the case type per micro journey. Sorry, Sai, you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, before you start this design patterns, I have a question on the previous one. So
Okay.
could you just tell us like, so micro journeys are part of a life cycle of a particular process, is it? Or
No, a process having a life cycle, a business process, not a technical process. Okay. A business process having a life cycle and yielding a result is called a micro journey.
all right.
Okay. And remember that micro journeys should deal with that entire process, the process entirely. It's not like that, okay, you can cut it into multiple micro journey. The one proper use case, one proper business case should handle everything. For example, a housing loan, business process should handle everything related to that housing loan. It's not like that ki, okay, there's one process of application submission, the another process is business process, basically. One for application submission, one for approval. You cannot divide it, though they also yield multiple results, right? So it should cover it in entirety. Got it?
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. No problem. Any other question? Other thing. So yeah, this one, right? Design pattern. So you are going to identify the micro journeys in your design, and you will see that in the template. I'll say that with you guys tomorrow. So and you need to justify which or mention basically which design pattern you are going to use per micro journey. So this is very essential, and that's why we just had a discussion about the micro journey and now the design pattern. Okay. So there are 5 important patterns that we leverage. The 2-3 patterns you all might be aware of. Certain new concepts there for you, or maybe you might have used it but never realized that this is a design pattern. That also could happen, okay, depending upon your experience, of course. So let's have a look at these 5 design patterns, see how and in which form they appear in our day-to-day work as a developer, Pega developer, right? So the very first thing is divide and conquer. Pretty straightforward, most famous, and it's not just the technical pattern, but this is a pattern of life kind of thing, right? Sometime in a positive way, sometime in a negative way, but let's focus on the positive way. Okay. So divide and conquer says that you divide your work into smaller units, solve those smaller units, and conquer the complete work. That's what it says. Don't try to build everything together. Don't try to do everything in one go. Instead, divide them into smaller problems and then solve it. This is how our life philosophy works as well, most of the time, right? Anyone who tries to accomplish a lot of things together, they often fail. So, divide and conquer is a software problem solving technique that has been in use for ages, right? And the core here is divide the work, try to identify the work that can be done mostly in parallel and independently from each other, the modules basically, and then solve them parallelly or independently, and then combine the result of those solutions to get the overall solution. That's what the divide and conquer is. Okay, this is one example. If you go through, or if you've gone through, you might know already, but otherwise you will go through the CLSA Nissan. So they're talking about one case type, event booking, which involves several things, right? In order to organize an event, the organization has to arrange hotel. They will have to arrange weather specific things, right? If it is forecasted to be raining on that day, they will have to arrange tent and other things. There has to be parking arrangement. There's shuttle services. So if we try all doing these all 5 things or 4 things together in one case type, it is going to be messy thing. Okay. Instead, if I see that there is a bit of parallelism, I can keep on doing the hotel booking, weather arrangement, and parking and shuttle services parallel. Then let's divide them. Let's divide the four parallel stream. Let's try to solve them parallelly, and this will actually shorten the time as well. And especially if they can be done by different people. Let's do that way. Okay, solve them and your entire solution is ready. That's the divide and conquer. Any question?
Is it something like a child cases where it will run independently with the life cycle?
Sorry?
Is it something like a child cases which will run independently along with the life cycle?
Yeah, it can be something like that. Yes. And that's mostly yes. That is precisely what it means. Child case. See, when we create a child case, and we'll discuss this further as well later. Child cases are typically created in two case scenario. Can you guys tell us when do you really go for a child case?
When there is no dependency on the parent case workflow.
And
Locking in order
there
to
you're talking about technical stuff. Yes, that's correct. But there is
So-
always going to be dependency on the parent case. That's why you have it as a child. So that is never true. There
So
is
when
always.
when you want to break down the task into associated smaller process, right? That's where you can create a child case. That way you break down the bigger task into smaller pieces and then let them run into their own set of processes or their own life cycle.
Another thing. Okay, I'm giving you a use case. Everyone, please focus. So let's say the government of India has launched a solar panel installation. Everyone has to submit the request. Any citizen. It has to reviewed by the solar energy department of the district. Reviewed by energy department, let's say. Energy department of the district. Then should be approved by, and there are several things they do in this process. I'm just listing down the processes. Approved by, let's say that there are 5 steps here. Okay, they will visit physical vegetation, quotation, blah, 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 5 steps. Okay, so it's big. Approved by state finance department or state finance department. Now this approval also needs around 4-5 steps, let's say. Okay, and then reviewed by central department of energy. Okay, again 5-7 steps, so it's getting very large. Okay, then reviewed by finance ministry. This also will have 2-3 steps, proper review 2-3 times. Okay, and then dispersal of subsidy. Then this dispersal is 1 step, that is okay. Then installation by designated company. This again needs 10 step, 8 to 10 step. Then approval, I mean the final approval by district energy department. And that's where case closes. There are, if you see, this is a huge case type, correct? Everyone?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Can I divide it into child cases? And if yes, how many?
few questions like all these approvals are independent or is it a sequence in a matrix?
What do you think? What do you think? Read it. What do you think?
I think it should be in a sequence.
Yeah, these are sequential. Because unless I get the go ahead from the previous department, I cannot proceed.
All right.
Four child cases.
4 child cases. What are those child cases?
One would be the review by energy department, because the department is might be different altogether.
Okay.
And the second one is the financial department. Okay. And the third one is energy. And fourth one would be the installation part. So four. Since finance ministry is only 2 or 3 steps, I think there is no need for creation of a child case.
Okay.
I have a different view on this one. So my view would be like this review approved by state finance and central department and finance would be a separate stages altogether in the same main case type. Whereas dispersal stays as a stage, but it's a different child case, and installation is also a different child case. So in order, it is like 2 child cases, one with main parent case.
Okay. Anyone else? What will I achieve creating child cases? Tell me that.
I think, yeah, so that should be a one child case. So basically child case when you have like a different
Child cases are
system.
useful when you can do things in
Real
parallel.
question.
Okay. They are useful if you can do things in parallel. Got it? If I'm actually kind of triggering a child case here after this step, my parent has to wait for this child case and then again trigger another. What is the benefit? Can't I do this in single case? So there are 2 use cases for child case. Mostly the parallel thing. And secondly, it's very huge to manage. And this is not that huge, by the way. It is very huge to manage in one case type. Then I divide it, and these are not child cases mostly. They are kind of subsequent cases in that case. Understood? But you can implement them as a child case as well, just to break it down. That is also understandable, but it needs a little bit advanced thinking in that sense. But child cases are mostly created for parallel processing. Understood?
So in this case, there is no child case required.
No child case, no.
So installation is something which runs in parallel, right? It doesn't need to wait.
How can you run
No.
without dispersal of the subsidy? Can you install that?
Yeah, you can't run, but I think the one other scenario that I can think of is child case generally, right? You are right. The child case certainly is parallel, just so that something can run while main process is happening. But then also there is a scenario where child cases, if there is entirely different entity involved, and you want to keep the associated process data
That's a
encapsulated
very
in,
special and specific case, Ajit.
yeah, I mean, I'm just
Yeah,
saying, right? So that,
yes,
that could
yes.
be, yeah, only one scenario that I can think of.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
that is absolutely true. Sometimes we just use the child cases as a mechanism to hide data. That is,
right. So
or improve
segregate
the
that data.
security. Yeah, those are rare situations, but yeah, that is correct. Yeah, but that's not the actual purpose of child case. That's a trick that we leverage to solve a problem there.
Right.
But Mahesh, so one small doubt. So let's say we have this case entirely to a particular case type. So will it not be difficult for in terms of performance or maintenance, because we may have only single table, and in terms of reporting, so we may have to run queries only on this particular work class, right? So how would we approach the child, because child
This
case
is one, Yogesh, this is one criteria.
okay.
Okay. We'll discuss further. There are several
okay.
things that we take into consideration to decide these things. Okay.
All right.
There are reporting, there are security. Even with one case, you can store the data independently in different tables. That is not the primary thing. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So there are other factors as well, but you are right.
Yeah.
But having everything in one case type doesn't necessarily means low performance. There are solutions to that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other question or any other comment from anyone? Okay, one quick thing, since we already have had more than half an hour of session. Guys, the way I'm taking this class, the way I'm initiating these discussions, the way we are basically interacting with each other, are you guys comfortable with this? There's nothing too fast, too slow. You guys are getting basically what the concept we are trying to discuss. That is okay, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure. For good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Okay, perfect. I hope you all are engaged and you all are enjoying this. This is not just a technical learning. We should be interacting with each other and putting a little pressure to our thought process as well. So I hope you all are involved in that. Okay, cool. Yeah, any other thing?
Could you help us like the design and the divide and conquer design pattern comparing with this use case?
Okay, I'm writing one more use case. Okay, 1 second. Same use case actually.
Like my question is mostly like how do we think about divide and conquer in this use case?
Just 1 second. Huh? Let me write this.
All right.
Okay. What do you think in this use case?
This is parallelly sent to state and central at the same time, and at any point of time, if one of the either validation is completed, then the dispersal can be started.
Correct. So this is a use case where there is a scope of parallel work, right? We send the request, we make that available to both the departments. Okay. Anyone can review, both can review as well. But anyone who reviews first, as soon as we got one go ahead, let's disperse the subsidy. Right?
Got it.
Yes.
So that is a use case. If you look at this use case, hotel booking and weather for as soon as I collected the event detail, okay, I'm organizing a corporate event, let's say on this date, right, on 23rd of March. I want to organize office picnic. Basically, let's say XYZ place. I contacted a booking agency or event agency. I say that, okay, help me organize this on 23rd of March. They will take my booking. They will say, okay, do you have people, do you want your people to stay in hotel? Yes. Part of request. Do you need parking for people if they are traveling? Or do you need a hotel to venue certain services? I say yes, yes, yes. Now, in that team, there will be someone who will arrange the hotel. There will be someone who will check the weather forecast on that day, and they will arrange. There is a chance of rain. They will arrange for that. Someone will arrange the parking. Someone will be book the venue. Someone will arrange the shuttle. Right? This all can be done parallel, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's precisely where you use divide and conquer.
Hi, but the
Hi.
scenario which you just now mentioned, that can also be done by the same case type only, right? We
It
can
will
use,
take time, Sriya, then, right? If there is a scope for doing things parallel, then why not do that?
like in the same process, we can use like split join or something for approval. Since
See, I'm saying parallel, not always parallel means a case type. Parallel sub-process is also there, okay? Right now. Consider just doing them in parallel. Mostly it goes into the case sub-case. That's a different discussion whether to use child case or to use sub-process. There are different measures for that, right? For example, if the thing that we are trying to do in parallel has a life cycle, then you go with child cases, okay? If it doesn't have a life cycle, there's no case locking problem, user problem, then we go with the sub-process, okay?
yeah, okay. Yes, got it.
But concept is there as
And
well,
I
the
think
same thing.
so split join or spin off still goes on the same case, unless you create a child. And I think Shreya,
Locking will be a major problem in that
Yeah.
case, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, here we have like State Department of Finance Ministry where there could be different people involved, right? Their case might be in their queue for a long time. There is a huge amount of requests coming in. So it makes sense, I think, to have a child parallel sub process.
Okay.
Right. I think that way. But in the event booking here, certainly, right? It's all 4 or different department, different people, different maybe companies involved.
Could be. I mean, that's
right?
a different discussion altogether, looking at the detail of your case type, okay?
Right.
Then you decide whether to go with the child case or child sub-process, right? But the concept remains same, right? You divide and conquer, try to do things parallel.
Right. So, I mean, it's in the same context, right? So when it comes in exam, right? So there is a ask for like, what is the design that we like recommend, like this is the design that's supposed to be, and then what is the secondary design that is potential candidate?
That
Right?
one could be potential candidate with a drawback, right?
Drawback.
So,
right? Yeah.
Obviously, there has to, I mean, if both are equally good, then how will you justify which one to choose, right? You will eventually have to choose one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that could be the way to put in the scenario, Shreya, you mentioned. So.
Correct. And we do that. We do that quite often, okay? User experience is basically in terms of locking is important. I'll give you one more example since we are discussing on that, okay? You guys, I mean, this is going to come later as well. I use it as an example, but let's see that. You guys order from Amazon? All of you, mostly, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot, right? So let's say that we ordered 3 items. All 3 are coming from 3 different vendors, right? Now, as soon as I make the payment, all 3 vendors need to ship me the item, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, in order to ship the item, they need to open the case. Let's say it's a Pega case, okay? They all 3 need to open the case, see the customer address, ship the item, and provide the tracking number. Correct?
Yeah.
Will you implement
Right.
it as a child case or sub case? The sub process or sub case? This can be done parallel. Obviously, you will not do it
Mm-hmm.
in sequence, right?
In this case, we would use a child case definitely.
Child case.
Mm-hmm.
Why child case?
Because each of the main order depends upon the fulfillment of all the 3 sellers delivering us the product at their own time. So even if one is delivered first and the others are delivered later, still it's fine for us. The main life cycle doesn't get impacted.
But that's not a good customer experience. Amazon will lose business if they do that,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to make sure that all 3 items are getting processed parallelly. I have 2 options, parent sub process or sub case. Which one will you choose and why?
Sub
Yeah,
case, maybe. Yeah.
it has to be sub case. I mean, I think one of the ways that I see, between choosing between the sub process and sub case is the party, right? Who is going to execute that? So here, there are 3 sellers and Amazon as a main process, right? So order was created on Amazon. So order is your case, and then there is a delivery, right? So and the sellers are 3 different sellers, and they have to initiate the delivery when the order is booked. So you would want to create a case for them, and then they act on it in their own parallel.
Acting on what they are acting. The only thing they are doing is reading the customer address and providing the tracking number. Anything else?
So, but providing the address, but then until it is delivered and signed and returned back, right?
That's all tracking.
What
External
if
thing.
customer is not there?
That's-
What if there is a retry?
That is all automated process.
But that automation is within that sub process, right? Not sub process, sub flow.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I will maintain that list of items chosen by customer in a page list, right?
In page list, you can only update the status. You can't route for a escalation. Let's say, for example, right, the order received.
Why can't an escalation be a page sub page within the page list?
The page list, if your escalation is a different party, you can't move the page list to the party's queue.
I can.
How can you move the page list in the party's queue?
I can.
You can move the case to the party's queue, not the list.
We never move the case anyway, right? Case is always in the work, okay? It's just that we create assignments in a different table related to one particular user or group, okay?
Right.
Yeah,
technically. Yeah, technically.
So if let's say this is a very interesting debate, and everyone please pay attention to this, okay? I am the customer. I have a problem with one of the product, right? I will open the case. Give me a screen okay, I have a problem. Let's say there's a button, I have a problem with this case. I click on that, you say which product you have problem with, right? I select the product and I record my things. There will be a flow action involved to that problem flow, of course. This is if we talk about this problem or anything, this is not main flow. It should be an optional action, right? Correct?
Yes.
This is not a main flow. I say with this item, I need to refund, I need refund, or I need a replacement. I select that. You know that this is my product for which I'm raising. Why can't I create another assignment for that particular vendor for refund or for replacement? I can do that. I don't need a flow or case type for that.
But it has to be within the same order, right? So whatever order you placed, so the order is having the third item with which you have a problem.
Correct.
So isn't it within the case?
It is within the case. I'm not
You-
saying it is outside of the case.
So when you raise a complaint, the complaint is regarding to the order, not regarding to particular product. I mean,
On a
it is
particular
different.
product within that order only. The issue is with a particular product within the order.
Okay.
See, so if you look at it different way, right? So your order was fulfilled, right? So you're going after the effect, right? So order was fulfilled, case is resolved, right? Customers comes back and report a problem on that order, one product of that order, right? So at least in taking the consideration of, let's say, Amazon, right? So Amazon behind the scene may be opening a child case of a complaint, not really reopening the main case itself. I mean, it's the order itself, right? So they would be initiating a child process, saying that okay,
That's
there was a
exactly. So that's Ajit. This is a completely a different use case then, right? Now let's come back to the original use case. What I'm saying is they need to disburse the item, and I need 3 assignments there. Should I create them with 3 child cases or sub process?
It should be
Because
3
this flow
child
is completely
cases.
different. It should be 3 child cases because you are saying why? Because why? I mean, I just need to understand the reason.
Because it will lock the parent. I mean, we have the option of locking or unlocking the parent case, and it will be a bad user experience if individually one vendor is locking the
That
parent case.
good, very good. That justification is absolutely correct. However, that's where basically an LSA need to use or need to deviate from the best practices, guys. You know that this is a single step process, correct? Providing the tracking ID, reading the customer account detail and providing the tracking ID is a single step process. Do you guys agree?
yeah, it's a
Correct. Now,
can be
these are internal users. There might be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, that many vendors involved in a case, correct? But they are not your front-end users, correct? Yes or no? Now, in this case, if I opt for optimistic locking, let them read the customer address because the most of the time they will be spending reading the customer address, noting it down or printing a slip and then sending it, right? Providing the reference number for the tracking, they can try. If someone has updated, refresh the case and try again. It's a very small thing. That is not that a big user experience problem than the cost of creating a different case type and maintaining it, which is more costlier than this in this case, correct? Agree or not?
Mahesh, can you
Yes,
please come again?
but
I did not understand the point. So
So what
are
I'm
we
saying
doing
is,
scenarios?
in this case, sorry, come again, please.
No, I'm just trying to understand how are we weighing both the scenarios that you are saying. So
I'm weighing in the way that the time and the action that the user takes on the assignment compared with the cost of creating a separate case. You know that most of the time Pega's licensing is based on the number of cases created, correct?
yes,
Right? It would probably be acceptable for my vendor to refresh the case and provide the tracking number if it saves me a lot of money, correct?
okay,
That is not a big user experience problem, is it?
right.
Right? So
Right.
so it's not always, guys, what I'm trying to explain is it's not always rule of the thumb. You need to weigh in the situation to decide. In this case, I will go with the sub-process, not sub-case. However, let's say that on the same screen, now let's take another scenario. On the same screen, some other use case was there, and that person has to supply data into 50 different fields. Same use case. They will have to provide data in 50 different use fields, upload some document and blah, 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 blah. Can I do that with this approach? No. If I implement, let's say I implemented optimistic locking, they will fill the 50 different details. And when they try to submit, you say that repress and fill again. How frustrated that user be, right? And if I say that, okay, you cannot edit the case, someone else is editing, then that person might have collected all the information to submit on the case, and he's waiting. I don't know when the case will be available for me to edit. And another time it's not a good use case. In this case, I will go to the child case. Getting my point, right, guys?
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, we have to weigh. We have to weigh by the cost of storing the child cases versus.
Correct. So always be smart about the situation and not go with the bookish knowledge. Okay? Never. You cannot do. That's why you are an architect.
Got it.
That's why you are an architect. I usually always say that nobody, an architect or an LSA doesn't mean that he knows everything. Okay? Nobody knows. I have been training LSAs for almost 8-9 years now. I've trained at least 500 to 600 people on the LSA itself. Okay. But I don't know a lot of things. It's not about knowing everything. I learn from you guys. I mean, we will have healthy discussion. In that process, I learn a lot. With every batch, something new I learn. I said, what being an LSA means is that you should find your way out in the situation when you don't have an answer. You need to know how to research, how to get an answer for a question that you don't have answer to. Okay? Just one more. Okay.
Mahesh, I have a question here. So
Well,
coming to the example of this Amazon and ordering and multiple vendors involved, till now, whenever there was a discussion, the best practice was to go ahead with a child case scenario because of locking and everything that we are discussing now. Now, Pega's licensing model being changed and introducing more child cases is going to be costly. So, do you think in our LSA exams we need to consider all this as well?
yeah, absolutely. We need to consider all of these. Okay.
So
it's not just the cost. See, there's one more thing. Okay, sorry, you complete that first.
So in case I have to consider this cost and everything, so what do you suggest as the best solution in this scenario then?
I just told you the best solution in both scenarios. Okay. When the less work involved and I can live with that customer experience, I will go with the child sub-process. Okay. When there are so much work involved, in that case, I will have to take the cost. I will go with the child cases, right? The second scenario, the second version of the same scenario I just explained. All right. And one more thing, it's not just the money cost in terms of licensing. When you create a case type, you need a storage, correct?
Yes.
Your database consumption. With every case type, there are so many metadata generated by the Pega that actually kind of it gets stored in the table. And when you process it, it gets stored on the runtime memory. So additional memory is also a cost, right? Maintaining a separate case type and developing it separately with all the configuration, there's a development cost as well. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, then it is define the divide and conquer design pattern that Pega is giving, right? So,
See, that's why we don't have just one design pattern. We have several. Choose the one that suits you.
Mahesh, to
So
what has I'm sorry, I had to cut you off. So let's say, what will Pega consider as a
What will
best
Pega
as a
consider
best
means?
approach? So let's say,
Based on the situation, based on your justification, how you are justifying that. I just gave you a couple of examples in both cases, right?
okay,
That's
let's
how
say,
you. Mhm.
yes, let's say they have given me a case type and I have implemented the case type without using any child cases.
Mhm.
Okay, so will they be asking me why have you gone for this approach rather than going for a child case approach? Will that be a question to me from Pega?
See, if you are not using child case, are you using sub process?
Yes, well, let's say I go for sub process
Then
because
you would have already justified why you are using sub process. Okay,
okay,
you must have. Now they will read with that.
okay,
If your
okay,
statement is valid, they will not question anything. They will simply go with this. Okay.
okay, okay.
If you have made any incorrect statement there, then they will query that
So
this
it
is
is
it.
okay. So it is up to me to provide the approach and also to provide the justification. So
You definitely have to justify. Then only you can choose
right.
the approach.
Okay, okay.
yeah, I mean, in design documentation or design exam, right? We have to write. We have to write
Yes.
both the recommended one and then alternate justification.
So,
But
but
then,
You need to
Mahesh,
evaluate them with pros and cons. Yeah, yeah.
so
so
with pros and
like,
cons is, I'm sorry, Ajit, please go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, thanks. So just to complete that sentence, right? So whatever everyone is asking, right? So as part of this training, right, and your expertise in training from so long, right? So while we know, I mean, there are 4 design systems, and based on situation, we can pick it up and justify. What is our strategic, from a design exam perspective, right? Strategic approach, like, okay, if you see that there is a question or scenario, or that is given in your design question, these things are there, then incline
I
towards
look for
this.
2 things actually.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. That's what. If you can put that, and then we agree upon that, this is your strategic checkpoints, and if you do so, then choose for this. If it is not that, then choose for this, and then
I
justify.
look for this. So whatever task I'm going to do in parallel, okay?
Hmm.
That might be single step or multi-step. If it is a multi-step, is the same user doing or more than one? If it is the same user, then I consider it as a single step process, okay? If there is a single step process, I always try to avoid different case type, okay? Single step should not be converted into case type. That's what I go with. So I try to find ways. However, if it is like I said, then the second point comes. Let's say I was looking into the scenario. I see that there's a parallelism of there's a scope for doing things parallel. Okay, good. What thing in parallel? Okay, this thing in parallel. Perfect. Now let's look at this. Who is going to do these things, or this thing, or these things? How many things are there that can be done in parallel? Let's say that there are 10 steps and 3 parties need to do it. This is definitely a case type. Okay. More than one stakeholder, convert it into case type without thinking. Got it? Now, problem comes.
So when you say more than one stakeholder, are you talking about more than one user within the system, or more than one parties? Like, there is a booking party and there is a parking party.
Not party. Party are usually for the communication and information. The people who need to act is what I'm talking about.
So you're saying that if there is a more than 2 or 3 operators or users or stakeholder, like you said, right, within the same single life cycle of that process, then go for sub case.
Case type, yes. Then go for child case. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Number 1. Number 2. If there are only one person, then my inclination is to use the sub process always. But then I look at the criticality of the assignment and the level of work involved. Like I said, if there are 50 different forms, so many things that the user need to collect, and there is a possibility that all the things will be wiped out, or he has to wait for other user to complete, and this is a business critical process that they should not be waiting much time, then I will have no choice other than creating a case type for the single step process too sometime. Okay. to address that requirement, because the business critical, so many information, I cannot give them frustrating user experience. Then I'll have to go with the case type. Okay, got it? However, sometimes there are different solutions to that as well. Okay, sometimes. If I really don't agree, then I go with some custom solutions. Custom solution would be, you have your case context, you launch that particular action on a temporary page. Got it? In the same case context, launch is on the temporary page. PY work page should not be your primary case. Otherwise, whenever you finish an assignment, it will update the case and locking will come there. Correct? Yes or no?
Yeah.
But if I launch a process on a temp page and you submit that flow, submit that assignment, will it try to update the PY work page? The answer is no. I've done this. Okay. In that case, if I really don't agree for the case type and there is so much field to be entered, then I can definitely not go with the simple locking and in the same as an assignment, simple assignment. I will launch it on a temporary page and say, remember, the data should also not be going into the PY work page. The data should be persisted somewhere outside, then only. If the data is also need to be going on the PY work page, then I have no other option than going with the child cases. Okay. But if I am saving that data, I have adjusted my design to save it into different table, then I can approach this way as well without creating a child case. Got it? And then comes the third point, where there is a scope that user can wait and refresh and submit because they just have to provide one or two things, or maybe just approve or reject. In those cases, I can still go ahead and implement the sub process with maybe optimistic locking or default locking, depending upon whether they are mostly reading that. If they are mostly reading that, I can provide the information in case information section and have default locking. If they need to open the assignment to read something, let it be the optimistic locking. And they just have to either approve or reject. They can refresh and approve, reject. They have already read the case content. That could be my approach. Okay. So you might have noticed there is no simple answer to that, right? This is all situation.
Yeah.
Till now, Mahesh, if this licensing was not in place, then we know that what is the best solution and we could have concluded now, right? So let's say because we have not experienced so much of this licensing model changes and everything. So
it's not just the licensing. That's what I'm saying. I mean, licensing is one critical thing that not everyone is aware of. You need to
exactly.
consider
So
other
now
cost as well. With every
I
case
understand
type,
all your points.
sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So my point is, so let's say, this was not in context and still Pega is mentioning it is a business critical application that is into consideration. So do you think that we have to give an assumption that we are okay with the pricing or whatever is the maintenance cost of the application?
Pricing at all. You will not mention the pricing at all. In your justification, you will only talk about the additional resource that is one case type takes. That's why you
Yes,
will say.
maintenance, whatever is the maintenance
exactly.
overhead or whatever, right?
Exactly. In your design, you will not mention the costing.
Okay.
That is something that I explained you to give a perspective from the other point of view as well. Not to be really mentioned. There are additional things, additional cost, just mention them.
Okay.
Good.
So this design that you were referring to earlier, right? So we create a temp page and then run sub process on that, which initiates the assignment. So that falls into which of these designs? Obviously, sorry.
It ideally, if you talk about the conceptual wise, it is still divide and conquer only, okay? Because you are enabling more than one people to work on the case through a different method. But the solution, the way we are implementing it is ad hoc, okay?
So that
It's
is
a
still
custom
divide and
solution.
conquer.
Yeah, it is still, because ultimately you are doing all this to enable people to work in parallel, right? Yeah, right? So it is still divide and conquer, design pattern wise. But a different way to technically implement it.
Okay. So basically, if in the scenario that comes and we are documenting our design approach, then we are saying that design and conquer is not always about going for a sub case or child case, but then it's all about how you can enable parallel execution without sub case or with without child case or with child case. Right?
That's what it means. Yes. In larger way, that's what it means.
Okay.
And Mahesh, not in exactly this context, but somewhat a bit deviated. But the question is now the third approach that you're mentioning, the advanced concept of launching temporary object or technically achieving it, is do you think it is possible with Constellation and doing it from App Studio as well?
No, not for the constellation. Let's just discuss that as an approach to different thing, okay? Not constellation.
Okay. Yeah.
But the same thing you can do differently in constellation. Okay, different way of implementing it, not exactly in the same way. You cannot launch it from the case context. You can launch it as a separate process and still have the case context. That's a different solution, okay? But
Okay.
technically, there is a parallelism in the constellation too. Not implementation wise, not exactly same set of steps.
Okay. Got it.
Mahesh, one small doubt. So regarding the licensing based on the case types for Pega, right? So I mean, I just wanted to understand how Pega charges the client based on the number of case types, because that is something that is stored within our infrastructure, right? Like
They have
when we
reporting.
have
You don't know that. They have reporting, okay? In the platform.
Oh, okay.
You cannot get away. Right? They do know.
Yeah.
It's their baby. They can feed it whatever they want, and they can take from it whatever they want. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. There's so many things that they generate, even we are not aware of. So sometime I was doing some research. They generate a lot of reports with regard to the users who are accessing the application, what are case types, and a lot of reports are there. Okay. And you know that when you launch Pega, you get latest in this and all those things. Those are real-time APIs call, by the way. Okay. So there is always a communication with your Pega platform and Pega systems.
Okay.
Next pattern is data instance first. All right. Data instance first is a smart way of avoiding creating multiple case type. Let's discuss it with a use case. Okay. You guys know about Bank Bazaar or Paisa Bazaar or maybe similar agencies elsewhere as well? Anyone knows about those?
Yeah, we all.
Yes.
Okay. Good. These are not banks, right? They are just kind of facilitators, middlemen, right? They do provide. Wow, Siri. Siri just says facilitator. Okay, so basically they have contract with different banks. They sell their product and they facilitate some credit analysis and a lot of things to end customer as well. Let's say ABC Bank has partnership with these aggregators or this kind of agencies. There can be two kind of setup. Those agencies can collect application on the bank's behalf. That happens now as well, right? Now, those applications can be real-time fed into the bank, which is typically the use case. But let's say that these are not real-time, or even if they are real-time, okay? Once they have submitted the application, will you directly expose an API? Of course, you will expose an API for them to feed it. Will you directly create a case with those APIs, or do you want to accept the data and put it into a table, do some validation on the data, and if the primary validation passes, then only create a case type? Which one is preferred in this case, and why? I can directly accept the values and create a case and run some validation. If there is basic information missing, I can reject that case, or I can put that all the data into a table, run some validations. If validation passes, create a case. Otherwise, just mark that entry as incomplete or rejected.
Definitely, I'll put it into some data table first, validate, and then create a case. Not always create a case.
And this is a valid case, right? Valid use case. This can happen in different scenario,
Yes.
in different organization. In fact, if you look at your project, the history of the project that you have worked upon, you will definitely find some use cases like that, right?
Yes, yes.
This is the pattern which is called data instance first. All right. This is the data instance first. You get the data captured from various sources. It can be API. I mentioned API, but it can be a user page on the Pega. It can be some background process from file listener, email listener, anywhere. Just collect the information, put it into a table, run the validation, and if required, then create the case. You can also facilitate updation of that data. That is fine. That's a good step to have. If required, you can get them updated. You can inform the agency that, okay, you submitted this application, but this customer's email ID was missing. Can you share that email ID? That can be also a different communication. That's okay. But ultimately, what you are doing in principle, that you are getting the data and you're creating the data instance first. And then you are running some validation or logic or whatever it is. And then you are deciding whether to create a case or not. Got it? Then there is another instance. And this is where I use a very good use case. So I will not cover it today. I will take it tomorrow. It will take some time. I will give you a use case and then we will debate on that. This and next one is related to this. So I will take it tomorrow. Okay. It will take some time, maybe 10-15 minutes. All right. So we'll stop here today. We're getting close to the end. Let's utilize this time to take any questions or anything you guys have with regard to, because this is the first date. So if you have any question with regard to the program structure that I covered earlier, if you have any question, follow-up question on that, you can ask. You can ask any content that we covered. So go ahead, Sai. Yeah, you do have a question. Yeah.
So overall, in a nutshell, so far we have learned here is so we look at a question that is being received as part of the design phase, and we put that question against these design patterns and identify which is the best one under each design pattern, and then form a final design.
It's vice versa. It's other way around, actually. I mean, maybe you are saying the same thing. I'm not able to grasp in the right order. But when you get a question, you first identify the micro journey, okay? And then you try to solve that micro journey by looking at that which design pattern you can use to solve that problem.
All right. And one more thing, sorry to interrupt, just one last question. So the material that you are using currently, right? We need to get it from Chandu, right? So all these.
Yeah, Chandu will be sharing this. Yeah, actually, what I will do is I'll share the complete document in one go. Okay. I will not share it session by session so that you guys have access to, and whenever you want to read it on your own pace, you can do that.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Mahesh, that the design question, right? Is the sample kind of preparation that we'll do later in the phase, or we'll do like
I will
parallel?
share that question probably tomorrow itself. I don't want to share it on the first date. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So while we are going through these, different section of this entire course, can we parallel, or we will parallelly do the kind of our own design document filling based on the use case that you'll share? Is that how we are going to proceed forward?
I'm really sorry, I got distracted a
No,
little.
so
Can you repeat that?
you are
Yeah.
going to give us a question scenario, right? The one of the design scenarios tomorrow. So from here on, right, as we proceed forward, we go through how we will answer to that design scenario in the real exam.
Right.
Or we are going to cover all this topic and then we will do at one shot.
No,
that,
no,
okay,
no. We'll not wait for all the topics. So what happens, Ajit? I'll share with you basically the design question tomorrow. Okay. And I'll also share the design template. I'll explain a little bit what we are expecting. Because we are going to take 2-3 sessions to cover some important theory before we jump on the design. Okay. Up to the data model. I need to cover that in order to do the design. But as we are doing it, because it's a weekly session, right? Twice in a week. So you guys will have 10-15 days, okay? 10 days, around 10 days before we actually start the design. So in between, you guys are welcome to practice. For example, I covered the application structure design. I'm covering the case design. Do this, apply this knowledge. Try to identify the micro journey. Try to identify the case type and do the preparation, okay? But once I have covered the data model, I will bring that question, and that's where in the session we will design one by one. And how design happens, I will write it down. For example, application structure. Okay, I will simply say that, guys, tell me what are the approaches that you need to follow for the application structure. Tell me 3 approaches and decide which one is the best. Then you'll have to come in. Okay, I will guide you. I will guide you there. But you guys will have to tell yourself first. Then we will discuss them and then we will decide which one is our first, second, third approach. Okay. This is how it will proceed.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other question?
So for architecture exam, right? So I mean, we are going to go in order of this entire course. So, but then we have, before we attempt exam,
You
we
don't have to wait for me, Ajit.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying, that we have to get our architecture exam done, right?
Yeah, because
so that we are ready for.
Exactly. So I will guide you in the sense how to prepare, how to approach the exam. My target would be maybe 1 month after today. Okay. You all complete that part 1. I don't want you guys to basically have that additional problem or thing in mind, right? That I still have to complete that, so that you can focus on part 2. Part 2 is actually the challenge, not part 1. You guys just need a little bit guidance and get it done. Let it be done. Okay. Not wait for me to complete. If I complete the program and you get involved in part 1, then you will basically get derailed from the part 2 practice.
Correct.
So we will try to play smart. It depends on the individual timelines and their commitment too. But in general, as a group, we'll try to play smart about it. Okay.
Sure. And while we prepare and attempt for that, right? Is there any sample papers or anything that you generally?
I will. First of all, I don't collect, and second, even if I have, I will not share. Why?
Okay.
I want you guys to read. I really want you guys.
No. Yeah, no. I'm not saying that we'll not read, right? So we covered our whatever PDN.
So there is
right?
at the end of there is a practice test. Okay, in the mission, 40 question. That's a good point. Good way to test your knowledge. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any other question?
Thank you so much.
No problem at all. Okay. Are we good, guys? Any other question from anyone?
No, and thank you so much, Mahesh.
All right, guys. Then thank you very much for your time on the day 1. We'll meet again tomorrow. Till then, you guys take care. Have a nice rest of the day, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chandu, just 1 second. Okay. So Mapika, you had some questions, right?
Yeah, I actually had some questions. Do you want to stop recording before I talk, or you? It's
Oh
okay.
yeah, yeah, sure, sure. I'm stopping. One second.